Terminator was an idea that I had when I was in Rome. I was just sitting around basically in my hotel room. I was in fact sick at the time. I had real high fever. And I just laying on the bed thinking and came up with all this bizarre imagery. And I think also the idea that, you know, because I was in a foreign city by myself and I felt very sort of dissociated from humanity in general, it was very easy to project myself into these two characters from the future who were out of sync, out of time, out of place, you know, that sort of thing. I'd always wanted to do some sort of really definitive robot story because it really, you know, had really never been done. What did you think when you first got the script for T1? I mean, because they wanted you to read for the other guy, right? So you read it thinking about the other guy, or, you know, about Reese? Do you remember what you were thinking when you read it?
The more I read the script, the more I remember I got fascinated by the Terminator.
Bad guy.
The bad guy,
right.
Which I thought was the real cool guy.
Your clothes. Give them to me.
What he loved was the story, and what he especially loved was everything that Terminator did.
We were talking about along the lines of me playing the heroic character.
Right, because that's what I thought you were coming in for. And the funny thing was, when I went to that lunch, I didn't see that as, you know, in the back of my mind, I was thinking the Terminator, you were thinking the Terminator, but we sit and we have this polite lunch because we've never met each other, and neither one of us mentions it, right? And then we both go back to our guys and say, Terminator, you know.
You then did something really smart. You sent over to my office your painting that you did of Terminator.
Right.
You impressed actually with my face on it.
Right.
And with the holding the 45 or like this across the chin like this. And I looked at this painting and I said, I am the Terminator. I'm gonna make this call now.
Right.
And I called Lou, my agent, right away, and I called you and I said, I want to play the Terminator.
Yeah.
And then the deal was made.
What changed was that the original concept as written, and the script didn't change at all, not a single line of dialogue was changed, but the visual concept was that the Terminator was this anonymous character who could walk out of a crowd, just one face in the crowd, could walk up and kill you for no apparent reason except for what your life would mean in some future time. And that concept changed because Arnold doesn't vanish into a crowd. It took on a slightly more hyperbolic visual style. It was a little larger than life. It still played sort of realistically, but it became more nightmarish. And you always knew he wasn't quite human. Obviously, in order to get the intensity on the face to make you a killer, there's a fine line with having you be completely blank. So, you know, there was some sense of emotion isn't really the right word, but intention, I think. The fact that you were a killer, I don't want to say predator, but a predatory creature in a way, and very focused on your goal.
Sarah Connor?
Yes?
We really narrowed it down to just if this would be a robot, what movement would there be going on? And it would literally only be the arm coming across, pulling out, cocking, shooting. No shoulder movement, no head movement. Goes back, and then the whole body would turn and walk away.
But with a smoothness too.
Oh yeah,
it was like very positive and very smooth. Not jerky either, because jerkiness wastes energy. It was like the ultimate efficiency, you know, to get, you know, the shortest path between 2 points. What I found to be effective, certainly on Terminator, was to do a slow motion build-up, or to subtly segue into slow motion where you almost don't realize it, and it becomes almost a dreamlike pace, or that dilation of time that you experience when you're in a traffic accident and it's happening and you can't stop it, and time seems to stretch. For me, the fun in that scene was the build-up. The latent tension of what is going to happen, knowing that one guy's armed, the other guy's armed, they're lurking around through the crowd, so all hell's going to break loose.
Come with me if you want to live.
Remember the first day we shot the scene where you're driving through the parking garage in the police car that you've stolen, and you're looking for them. And on that first day we got together and we talked a little bit, and we worked out some physical behavior like a shark, you know, kind of the way it moves back and forth looking for prey. And then you came up with the idea of moving your eyes, then moving your head to follow the eyes, then moving the eyes back and moving the head back. So it became almost like a surveillance camera. And the funny thing was, it didn't really get real to me until the next morning in dailies. And I saw that close-up and I went, this is working great.
Yeah.
That nobody has ever seen this before.
I'll be back.
When writing I'll Be Back, I didn't think that that line would play funny at all, because you almost have to see the movie to know that he's coming through the door with the car. I figured that that would be a line for people who were seeing the film again, which obviously Terminator is one of those movies that people see over and over, so it works like that. But you know what? It worked even when people hadn't seen the movie before, because they could just guess what your version of coming back was going to be. You know what I mean? By that point, they were in sync with the picture, and the picture was working. In the first picture, you were so enthusiastic about the character and about the work. I mean, as you are in all your films, but I hadn't worked with you before, so I wasn't ready for this. That you just jumped in. I mean, there was stuff where we had you tied to the top of a car, holding on while the car raced backward down the alley with your arm on fire.
I think the worst moments were not really when I had to do something physically, like, you know, running through a window, or falling through a window, or landing on glass, or something like that, or being on top of a car. It was more the acid that was poured on me to make me smoke, to make the character smoke. I remember.
That's true. We did pour acid on you.
I kept saying, is there no other way?
Mild acid. It's a very mild acid.
Yeah, very mild. Is there no way that we can just put some smoke in there somewhere in the clothes that I can smoke, rather than having acid being poured on? With fire and acid and those kind of things, you never know.
Well, you know when that stuff starts to get around the face.
Exactly, too much, or in the eyes. You know, it burns a little bit.
I think that there was one major decision that was made that everything else sort of devolved from, which was made jointly between myself and Stan Winston when I approached him to do the you know, the makeup and prosthetic effects on the film. And that decision was to not do a man in a suit. We had to sell the idea that this was the suit that was inside the man.
All I remember was that I walked into Stan Winston's office,
right,
his building where he designed all the everything, you know, the Terminator look. After you got through prepping him what it should look like and all this, and he started making drawings and the makeup and design, all this stuff. I remember walking in one time and he said to me, "This is what you're going to look like." And I looked at this, and I did not think it was humanly possible to create this kind of a makeup. With the cheekbones sticking out.
I mean,
there was mechanism underneath.
Yeah.
The hydraulic mechanism underneath the cheeks.
Right.
And when the meat is ripped off, when the teeth are sticking out on the side, when the mouth is gone, when the artificial eye, I mean, that lens is exposed and lights up red and all this stuff. When I saw that, I said to myself, that's impossible to do. And he looked at me, and when I told him that, he said to me, "It's possible, Arnold, but it would take hours and hours and hours and a lot of your patience."
Get out.